I'm a best hope for me.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome, Peter.
Hi, Kelly.
Well, welcome everybody. This is the September 16th Michigan PR group, and we've got a roundtable meeting today. And my dog's trying to join us here today. So Bijou's joining us at the moment, and hopefully my other one who's outside doesn't start barking. So I'll start off today with a win that you guys might be able to hopefully replicate. Last week, we were invited to join our local post office had a customer appreciation day. And a few days before that, a representative from the post office came by and asked if we had stuff to add into their giveaway bags and if we wanted to have a table there. So we were able to work it out staffing wise, and I went in the afternoon, another librarian went in the morning, and it was a great event. We got to reach lots of people that we don't normally see at the library. So some people that hadn't been there in years, some people had never been there. One person that had been there just before they came to the post office. So, that's always fun. But you can check if your local post office is doing any customer appreciation days. I don't know if it's a national thing, certain time they do it or what, but it worked. It was a benefit to the post office because they got to show the post office had, another community member there with them in the library, and we got to reach some of their customers and talk about the library. So that was a great one. I was not expecting, but was happy to be able to join the post office there for the day. Now open up the floor. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, concerns, scenarios they want to run by anybody?
I use that post office, so I'm sure you got a lot of interaction there because that's a very busy post office. So good on you for booking that event.
I was just credit goes to the post office. They invited us. I just said yes to the opportunity. So, but yes, that is a nice one that it is. They have lots of PO boxes there, so it is got a nice traffic flow to it.
We're joining one of our municipal partners in 2 weeks on the 28th. Um, this is probably something I think you've said you've done this. It's not called the field day. It's an open house for the town Bloomfield Township. And they do a pretty good job, but we like being amongst the other departments of the township as representing, what the township itself has to offer. But we don't have near the draw as the fire department with the big squirty guns and all that. But we're still there handing
Yeah.
out books and signing up people. So those are good events, I think, even if you don't sign a lot of people up. That's usually my job, but you do get to talk to a lot of people because they're huge events. So highly recommended.
Yeah, we don't have quite the draw as a fire truck. Well, we can't compete with that, but it's still worth going out for and having your tchotchkes to hand out and most importantly the info and getting people to think about the library.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I hope you'll have great weather and have lots of fun at that event.
That is a good point because they give it so early in the fall. Last year it was just rain and
Oh,
it was a good event, but it was cold and rainy, but the food trucks kept everyone there. So it's nice when if you plan a good event, people come out. I was surprised that many people came out in the rain, but you know, family opportunity. So it was great.
and the fire trucks are still a draw even in the rain.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Has anybody else had any other wins over the past month that they want to share?
Yes, I do. I'm from Tecumseh. I'm Andy, Tecumseh District Library. So we're trying to, as always, I think I've mentioned on here before, we have a lot of teens after school. Some come for 10 minutes, some come for long as we're open. And we're trying to create some crafting opportunities and things for them. Not exactly the most original ever, but I did partner with someone who's an expert on various crafts, and so
Get water
we
in it.
we planned this
Oh, okay. Sorry.
roller beads um,
Okay.
program, and the students did not have to register, and we had Star Wars and we had Harry Potter and a few like cookies and chips and things like that, and expected maybe 20 kids, maybe 30 at the most. We usually average between 30 and 40 who come in the library every day. And we ended up going like, we basically almost ran out of materials. So I was prepared for nothing, for nobody to venture down into the basement. And they really liked it and they stayed for a long time. And I think it kind of surprised the person who did the program because she's used to dealing with adults more. But it was very successful. And then that's building towards for half days, students sometimes stay for again 10 minutes or less. Sometimes they stay for like 5 hours. So we're planning on longer crafting opportunities with better food. But they do have to register for those. Uh, as well. So I guess that would be like the biggest win for me was that many kids. I think kids are looking for stuff to do, like as long as it's not too academic after school. I think they tire of just sitting around on their phones and stuff like that after a while. I'm a retired teacher and that's kind of the pattern I noticed also. So those are just kind of wins and will hopefully keep the momentum going. I also did bring some like footballs and volleyballs and um, other recreational equipment and just kind of set them out and occasionally kids will take those and go outside and it's always gratifying to see that versus them being on phones or um, playing Roblox on the computer. So now that I've given my opening statement, I feel like that was kind of long, but I do have a question
Yeah.
for later about computer access, but I'll let somebody else share their win first or comment on my win. Thank you.
Well, Andy, I'm glad to hear it. I was thinking about you over the past month, wondering how when school kicked in, how it was going.
It's going okay. It's going okay. Thank you for thinking of me.
All right. Who else has any wins for the month? All right. Well, Andy, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, I will. So, again, I mentioned before on here, we have like um normally 30 to 40 kids who come in, and I would say almost all of them are from the middle school, which is about a block away. And so you're looking at sixth, seventh, and eighth graders typically. Many of the fifth and sixth graders camp themselves at our computers, and we have basically almost all of our computers for patron use are in the same area. They face each other. I think there's about 20 roughly computers, and they're kind of in two rows, and they kind of like face each other on both. There's two columns. if I had a whiteboard, I would, draw the diagram. But some of them are there for hours and hours playing Roblox. And if you don't know what Roblox is, it's I don't know a lot about it, but it's basically an interactive kind of first person game. It's a little bit like Minecraft was, but it's more apparently more addictive because some of these kids, like, they're there for hours and hours. So it's not so much them playing the games that's the problem. That's just merely kind of annoying. Um, and occasionally it does interfere, I feel like, with adults who are trying to use um, the computers in peace to do their printing. But they're going to talk. Like, it's a game where they a lot of them wear headsets and they're talking to each other in the library, and they're also communicating with people, around the world theoretically, um, at the same time. So I just wondered if anybody else is having this issue. I mean, we kind of have a one warning, and then the next time you're out type um, policy. That's our library policy, and but inevitably, when you get sixth, seventh, eighth graders, if you get 9 or 10 of them at a time, um, or even two, they're going to make noise that is above what we want. I mean, we don't expect no talking or no whispering, obviously, but it's like they're definitely louder than the knitting group most of the time. And so I just wondered if anybody else is having this issue. And I've looked at Canton's policy. I was a patron at Canton Public Library for a long time, and I remember they had, strict limits on what you could download, and there were filters and things like that. I can't remember if they had time limits unless people were trying to use it. And I looked at Chelsea's as well, and we're just kind of trying to explore how to deal with this other than um, just constantly going over there and saying, "Hey, keep it down." But on another note, I don't think it's healthy for kids to sit there for, in some cases, 3, 4, 5 hours playing computer games. I don't know if that's what the computer thing was meant for, so we're just kind of struggling with this because they're not technically violating our policies, but we're wondering if we can develop something that would limit, I guess, the time that they're doing this. And I'm kind of rambling, but that's just kind of what we are dealing with. And then on the other hand, you also think, well, if they weren't doing that, if they're not occupied, what would they be doing in the library? Would
I see.
would they be creating more of an issue if they're not engaged, with the games? And one final thing, there was a Detroit News article recently that showed that there's predators on this Roblox. It's a two-way thing. There's been cases of students who were, underage minors and such that were approached through this Roblox program. Some of it's in the courts right now, I think. But anyway, if anybody has any thoughts about this, I would love to hear it, and I'll pass it on to our director as well.
Stephanie, I see you raised your hand.
Yeah. So hi, I'm
Hi.
from in Ledge Area District Library. I don't know if I've come on every once in a while.
Hi,
Um,
Stephanie.
hi. So yeah, Roblox. That is definitely something we with here at the library as well. We specifically have two boys that come in over the summer. They basically came in every single day and they were playing some of the games. Uh, what Roblox is it's basically people create different games in different worlds and they can um, the users can play in those different worlds. So one game may not be appropriate for, you know, tweens, teens, but other games may be okay for smaller kids. It just depends on what they're actually playing. Um, but for the most part, the boys and the teens that play Roblox here are generally okay. They can get a little loud sometimes, and that's when we kind of have to go back there and say, hey, we can hear you out in the other room. You need to quiet down a little bit. Um, the biggest issue for us has been they have been on the computers all summer, essentially. They would come in fairly early in the morning, you know, whenever they woke up, and then they would leave late afternoon. And their mother apparently came to us and was like, hey, I don't want my kids being on the computers this long. How can you do something about it? And we were like, well, you know, like we will certainly try to not have them get on the computers as much, but we're also thinking that's kind of what we need to be regulating, not us as a, you know, an establishment. Um, so what we kind of have been working on lately is, and this is a double parted thing. We actually just did a partnership with our local school system where all of our students in our district are now going to have a library card automatically. So it's not just a digital card anymore. They use their student ID to use their library card. It has some restrictions. They can only check out like 5 books. But when we're restructuring this new thing for students, we are also going to start restricting that computer time to a very strict, I believe it was a 90-minute maximum that they can have a day. We're no longer issuing guest passes to any minors because that's what they would do is they would use their card right now. And then once that time elapsed and they couldn't access the computers anymore, then they'd go grab guest passes and start using guest passes throughout the day. And while we would monitor that, they would leave and then they would come back and they knew when staff shift changes and stuff. So they knew how to work the system. But yeah, so it's just overall, it's just kind of one of those things that you might have to consider a policy change. If you know who the students are, maybe try reaching out to their parents, you know, just saying your students are on these computers for X amount of time. We just want to make sure that you are aware that these are the activities they're doing while they're in the library. And if they're causing a commotion, you may want to just consider like giving them a warning, giving them not necessarily a ban, but you know, asking them to leave for the day, just being very calm, but also very firm, I guess. You know, like we do have other patrons here. And I know they'll roll their eyes at you and they'll probably mutter a swear or something. That's just how teenagers are, but that's how we've dealt with them so far.
Thank you
Hey,
for sharing that. Go ahead.
Andy, yeah, definitely. I'm a veteran of a youth center actually in Southfield, so I knew Kelly before I got over here to Bloomfield. We were all a part of the same complex. I was at a youth center in Southfield called Field Zone, and we had within our little center, we had a dedicated area for the computers, and I can tell you for sure that I think that it is a big draw for the kids to um it was more of a social thing because they were limited to playing some stupid game. It was basically stick figures, but they were enjoying it was like a Tron game, and they were actually enjoying each other's company more so than the gameplay itself. So I think that in some ways the social interaction, even though it's while they're playing the computer, is somewhat rewarding, and it's good to see them interacting with with other people besides just playing this game. So the things that Stephanie was talking about as far as limiting time or sign up sheets, that might be a positive way if you have a section of the library that could serve as just, the play group for the day or whatever. The way our library is set up, we have a computer area and then we have a separate room for training. So once you close those doors, they can't yell or scream, but they can talk as much as they want, and no one out in the main room can hear them. So that's a one solution we sort of came up with. Now, what the youth department did, and this is probably something that might work for you better, is they create a gamer night, and we have it once a month, and Nintendo 64 never goes out of style. I don't care what comes out. So these kids are basically playing these old archived games, and I'll find out more for you and try to forward it to you. But this thing is a huge hit because our youth area, it doesn't involve the teens, and I think they're thinking about translating it to the teen area. But we're talking preteens. Parents are actively involved in it because they have to bring the children. It's not like the middle school situation. And that worked out because we can control and limit everything. Basically, if you've ever been in a tournament, it's usually the rise or fly type of situation where everybody starts out the same and they can play a game with 4 to 8 players. And then if you get voted off the island or get knocked out, the next person on the sign up sheet gets to join in. So you keep people rotating through, and there's ways you can control that situation too. But I think that might be a solution, so you can sort of like sponsor the Roblox thing and don't have them say lock that out of your system at all other times. But we're sponsoring this specific event because we know that there's high interest in it. And you could even do it like a tournament thing, give out a couple of prizes so that you're in control of the time and they're not just coming in randomly playing. That's my two
Thank
cents
you,
on it.
Peter and Stephanie. A couple things. We do have a game club every week where it's in one of our meeting rooms, and we have a big whiteboard with they play Switch games down there. And it's very well attended. We also have board games and things too. Usually we get anywhere between 20 and 25 kids down, and they can eat down there, and they can, they can be they can be and are very loud down there. But that was one of my thoughts too about like, kind of like if you can't beat them, join them. Try to set up some sort of a tournament. I mean, I don't want to like ruin their like organic way of communicating with each other or whatever, but it is disruptive. Like typically when I come in the morning, um, I get at least one complaint from a staff member about them being too loud over there or being asked to leave, or like it's becoming, I don't know. It's kind of funny because when I taught at a pretty, I hate to say pretty good district, but it was like we didn't have a lot of like major violent issues or anything. And so teachers would fixate on tardies or, like the problem of tardies or the problem of, relatively overall trivial things because that's what we had to complain about, and but this is becoming it was to the point the other day we counted 12 or 13 of our 20 computers were occupied by kids playing Roblox, and there were adults trying to come in to make copies and do whatever, like check their email. And it did interfere with the library business on that day. And that was a little bit atypical, but our director was like, his take was, well, this is annoying, but they're not really violating, policy. So I
If
like
you
the
make
idea
it
of the
if
of
you
a
make it
tournament
policy,
though.
it's
Yeah.
yours to run with. So I mean,
Yeah.
and you could do it
And
in the positive way, is what I was just getting to.
I wish we could separate, like we have two dedicated teen computers in the teen area. Um, and the kids don't typically want to use those because they're so separate from their friends who are trying to play like in the adult, typically the main area. So but I do like the idea of having, I wish they were all, or, like 4 or 5 computers in the teen area. And I don't know if that's possible, but we're kind of looking into that. But I really love your idea, Peter, also of, yeah, of the, like a monthly tournament, try to get a handle on it. I think they could play like on a bigger screen potentially, but it would take some work, to do. I guess we can either just sit here and complain about it here at the library, or we can try to come up with some sort of solution. Because I don't think it's going to change. I also like the idea, Stephanie, of having a 90-minute per day. Like, was that just for minors, or how did that?
Yeah, it's we're still going over policy, so I can
Yeah.
share that when it's finalized by the board. But yeah, minors definitely it is a hard 90-minute at this point. And then I believe adults get 90 minutes with like an extension if they need it.
Okay.
But we are trying to get everybody to stop using the guest passes just as a generality because we want them to have library cards and use the library cards. But we understand that that's not always an option, and sometimes people just want to come in and just use the computer. That's fine too.
Well, it's kind of like our ones with we have 2 computers that don't require having a card, but there says 20-minute limit.
Mhm.
But in reality, I don't care how long they're on it, as long as nobody else is waiting, for it. But if you had the 90-minute there, like you could always implement, you could always enforce that.
Now you
Um,
mentioned that they play on or near your adult computers. Is that correct?
oh yeah. Yeah,
Then
they're
that should definitely be a policy because if those computers are specifically for adults, the adults do not want to be by the teens as I'm sure you've probably experienced. But we have a very defined, like, okay, this
yeah.
is our adult section. These are unfiltered computers. Teens are in another room currently. We are moving some things, and their computers are filtered. And we have not filtered Roblox yet, but I guess like potentially if it had became a problem at some point, we probably could block that site or something. I think that would cause more problems than be a beneficial thing at this point. But yeah, your adults, I would imagine, do not want to be by teens gaming. So if there's any way that you can move them apart, that would probably release some of the tensions too.
I think that's a possibility when we're doing some renovating in the future, but I don't know when. And again, like, so in the classroom, as a classroom teacher, yes, it's horrible when kids are on phones, but when you ban phones altogether, like the phone does also keep them occupied, like after they are done taking a test or after like, and are waiting for other, so like if you totally ban stuff, yeah, there could be effects that you hadn't thought of. They're gonna go back to the fast times at Ridgemont High, ways of occupying themselves too. And but I think that's one thing we have to separate is like what's merely annoying and what's actually interfering with library business and patron business. So
We
thank you,
definitely
everybody.
we have those the limits too. Is my audio on?
Yes.
Okay. I had to switch because I've got a new monitor and all this. We have those limits on our computers for everyone. And it's, I don't know if it's 90 minutes or 60 minutes, and then like you get one renewal. And but for the kids too, that's something that has to be, like it's almost like the computer starts warning you at 10 minutes too, like better save, better save. And I see nothing wrong with limiting the kids to like, one or two sessions, because it's the library is a meeting place and a cultural place, but it's also not a babysitter. And, it's the kind of thing where, yeah, come enjoy yourself, but like this isn't the only thing. You're going to have to find other things to use your time. Now, if they're there because someone's dropped them off and they have to stay, like if they're waiting to be picked up after school, because one of our schools is right next to our library, so like kids could walk over and then get picked up later. Um, then they'll have to work that out with their parents. But, you can definitely, we're reworking some of our policies, not just that kind of policy, but other policies. And once you have a policy, you can enforce it. And it's not a negative thing, it's just a thing because it has to be fair for everyone. And people are waiting. We have people that they'll spend all day on the computer, but there's only really one or two people that do this, but they know the minute that someone is waiting, they leave. Like they know, they tell us, they're like, hey, if someone's waiting, come and tell me, or I'll notice or whatever, and I will leave immediately. So it's with the one for 20 minutes and you don't really care, if they linger because,
Yes.
as long as no one's waiting. We have that, but I like the idea of not having guest passes anymore. I don't know, I think we still issue guest passes, but it hasn't been an issue. But yeah, I'm gonna mention that to our director in case that ever does become an issue, is to insist on library cards.
What library are you from, Karen? I know you said before.
No, I didn't, and I tried to attach it to my name, and I have to figure out how to do that. Huntington Woods.
Okay, right.
Where are you?
I'm in Tecumseh. It's near Adrian. It's about maybe 25 minutes south of Ann Arbor.
Yeah, no, I know.
And Stephanie, the other thing I really liked that you said was, and we're planning on, like right now, all the kids get digital cards, but we have some concerns about that because we have some concerns about their unlimited access, especially to Hoopla and others, and we can adjust those things, but we're kind of in the process of dealing with that too. Um, but especially during library sign up month, we're trying to get to where all the students at Tecumseh schools and homeschoolers and the private schools would have a card, not just a digital card, but an actual card, even though I don't know what percentage, but I would guess about 20% probably don't live in, and maybe more, don't live in our district. But I think that's also key. And like if you're going to say, because they really they can't check out materials with a digital card. Like they can't, I mean, they can still do our programs and everything, but like it's kind of disingenuous to say, here, use our other stuff, and then you can't. Like unless you have a parent come in, so on. So we're trying to figure that all out. I think it's all part of like, I don't, I don't want to be critical. I mean, I've only been here a year and a half, but things have popped up that I think were maybe not fully addressed before, and people just kind of put up with it. And now, I feel like we have a new children's librarian, myself, a new director, and we're kind of like, whoa, we want to we want to try to solve this as best that we can. And I have noticed that in general, the relationships we built last year with the kids has made it easier to communicate with them. And I mean, I couldn't believe like 40 kids came down to the program. I think they trust us and they do value, not all of them do, but many of them value the library maybe differently than they did before.
Very cool.
You're on mute, Kelly.
Thank you. My dogs were barking before, so
Dog for barking.
the other thought I had, Andy, was I don't know if this is in your budget because it's definitely be a cost, but the possibility of getting some laptops that, are just for in-library use. And then
Oh,
they could be just in the teen area for after school hours.
I think that's a great idea. And like, I mean, again, I'm not going to draw a diagram of it, but the computer area is literally in the center of our library. So, at least in that, the adult section, it's kind of like between the children's and the adult reading area, and then like there's a fireplace right by the reference desk. And gosh, it'd be nice to be able to like diffuse that somewhat.
the
To
laptops.
get, yes, yes, I agree. Because the teen area is like very separate, like it's distinctly separate. And I tell the kids, if they're in the adult area, I say, and they're being too loud, I'm like, hey, if you go to the teen area, you can talk a little louder, like you can't eat, but you can, you know, it's a little different expectation over there, to be honest. And they generally move, and sometimes they even push their chair in when they leave. So it's it's nice to have that thing. And I've noticed like lately with professional development, there's a lot of programming or PD offered right now about teens in the library, like a lot. I think more than I noticed last year, but maybe because I was new, I didn't notice anything as much. But seems like this is kind of a universal thing especially for libraries that have kids with easy access, because the school is like literally the middle school is only, I mean, to call it a block would be generous. It's less than a block away. It's almost across the street. So, um, yeah, so we're trying to manage that.
It's definitely been a fine line for us because while we do want to have teens in the library, because historically we've very much struggled with having them come to our programming, even though we provide a pretty decent amount of programming for them. Um, if any of us ever approaches them, they kind of just scoff. They don't want to be contacted by an adult. I, for whatever reason, get a little bit better uh communication with them, but I
It's the
also have
hair.
fun.
It's the hair.
Well,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
the
it's
hair.
probably
Yeah.
yeah. I'm so cool as I roll my eyes.
You are cool.
Say,
But
I-
my son is in high school too, so some of the kids that come in here know him. He's not a popular kid by any means, but he is a well-known kid, for good reason. Um, so yeah, like sometimes I'll try to talk to them if I see them, if they don't look like they're in their own little world, and just let them know about a thing. Um, so will other staff if we can. So it's like finding the right thing. We did a beading bracelet, kind of like how the Swifties and stuff do the like beads. We used to call them candy. But anyway, I did one of those over the summer, and it was pretty decently attended. We also had just a beading station out during our March's Reading Month, where we had just abundance of beads left over, and there was almost always teens over there making crafts and stuff. So I feel like as long as you're providing something for them, they're going to come in. They just don't want adults by them, as all of us didn't want adults by us when we were their age. So
Right.
Does anybody have a teen advisory council? I've heard that many libraries have that or are looking into that. And if so, how does that work?
We have a teen liaison to our library board. our library board is not elected, it is advisory. And so we do have a teen liaison that joins, and they're usually a member of teen council. Um, we have we need to kind of connect a little more with teen council, and I think that that's just something that we're looking at, but that's a good thing if there's a teen council at the high school. Also, like if you can get teens involved, like you can provide NHS points for volunteering and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We're also doing teen events, or trying to find teen events that apply, that are appeal to people. And we had like the beading and the Swifty bracelets and stuff. Some of the tweens were interested in that too, which are more of
Yes.
late elementary, middle school. I love the idea of keeping the beads out all the time, except that I would just be guilty of going over there to make my own things. But one thing that we had, this is an event, but it's something that, just to throw out there, we're having one of those fleece blanket tying events, like for an animal shelter. And
Mm.
we have 20 people signed up. And for us, that's a lot, because we're a very small community. 20 people is an amazing amount for an event, for a teen event for us. And
Yes.
so yeah, so like she had to open up more spots. So it's just like finding that, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's just Benny.
You're welcome, Betty.
Here, Benny is here, yes. Like, I have this new monitor. I've got my laptop in a different place, and I'm trying to get used to this. And so he's like, where do I go? Anyway, sorry. Anyway, but yeah, it's finding those events and things that appeal to them that, aren't going to be like, oh, that's so lame, kind of thing that, we might find interesting, but they find lame. And it's one of those push me, pull you situations. But we did find that fleece blanket thing, and we're gonna go. There's like the Ferndale Animal Shelter or the Cat Cafe. I forget what they call it now, and the blankets are all going there, and we coordinated with that business.
And
That's
for anyone who's
outstanding.
interested doing the beading event, you can go on Amazon and get like trays of colored beads and all the alphabet beads for like so cheap.
Yeah,
Like even if somebody took a tray, you'd be out like
$3.
3, 4 bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, it looks like Kelly, this got taken over by
Yeah.
teens.
Hey,
I
that's
I
okay.
hope I didn't hold you hostage here. I know that that's
No, teens
a
are
thing,
certainly teens are the most elusive of our patrons. Always have been, always will be.
well, I think it's really like it's been quite I mean, I've been here now basically a year and a half, but it's a little, I don't know if the word's insulting, but when patrons say, "Oh, so it's time for you to babysit," like it's 3 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm a pretty highly paid babysitter, and I have other skills.
Yes.
I don't know, like it is. I would say like at least 20% of my time here is directly spent with teens or and then you mentioned the preteens. Yeah, a lot of the kids who come to our programming are as young as fifth grade because the middle school starts at fourth grade. So that's another sort of issue. But I feel like we're offering stuff for them. I think we just need to. I think it was key to get that perler bead thing because kids went to that and they liked that a lot. And so our next thing is the dragon eggs, making dragon eggs on the half day, and then we've got these I don't know what to call it, pygmy puffs. This is on our October program on the half day, and we're going to make little pocket. I found a person who's really, really good with crafts, and
Mhm.
I'm not particularly good with crafts. And I think that's going to be a big help. I think once word gets around, and we communicate a lot with the schools already, I think that'll help. But I think we can't provide that every day.
No, no, no.
And I think that's the conundrum, like I think now we have a better idea of knowing our role. And I'm not a teacher, I'm not a principal, I'm not a class sponsor, I'm a librarian. And we're trying to provide a welcoming space for kids, but not necessarily always providing hands-on stuff for them all the time that we're directing. You know, there's a lot of passive programs and chess clubs, and I feel like we're there. But some kids too, they just want to come and hang out. And I don't think that's a problem, as long as it's for a limited period of time. Because the big one of the biggest surprises for me too was the transitory nature of like some kids come for 5 minutes. And how do you design programming for that? You know, some kids come for longer, and some come for too long. You know, and so you're kind of trying to cater to a lot. So it's definitely, but this conversation has helped a great deal. Me, I don't know if everybody
Yeah.
agrees, but I'm greatly helped.
I would be curious to hear if anybody else in this meeting has had successes with their programs, their teen programs, and what they did to get those successes.
Mhm. One thing I was going to address before that is also determining the role. And I'm sorry to break in with this, but Andy, you mentioned something that was really important to me that, oh, it's time to babysit. It's 3 p.m. I I had someone say that to me, and I talked to the something similar, and our library is not the old-fashioned shh library. Our library is a community center, and children partake. And there is a level of noise that we have deemed acceptable. And people have to realize that that's what libraries are today. They're not the old days of the mean old librarian. I refuse to be that. And I'm not a librarian. I'm a clerk. But yeah, you have to know, like, or the people need to know, look, when you come in here, it's not like the old days. People will be talking. It's acceptable that they are talking because it's usually meaningful. Um, and that's what I wanted to say about that. Because setting that tone can relieve a lot of stress from you and your staff. So thank you. Oh, somebody hearted it.
Yeah.
Thank you. But going to programming, Stephanie, that one with the blankets, I'm like really excited to see how that will turn out because if it becomes really popular with the teens, I know we would do it again. So that was one that we're looking forward to. I like the beating station too. I'm gonna mention that. Okay, sit down.
Yeah. Has anyone else had luck with teen programs or teens in general?
Just wanna check my events thing.
Give them a craft, give them something to do. Make them have them do tiny art. We have them do Super Smash Brother tournaments, and we have them do RPGs.
We did the tiny art. We're still begging people to come and get them, to pick them up.
Yeah, that's been the problem on my end too. I email and email and email, and eventually I just had to throw some of the things out that we didn't want because they just didn't get them after like a month or so.
Yeah. We had the for summer reading, the theme, and we got those tiny easels with the tiny canvas and
Yep.
oh my God, it was so popular. And like, and even after like the deadline to pick them up, or not to pick them up, but to like start them, people are like, do you have any more of those? Like, so that was a good thing. I mean, and that can be for teens and adults and everyone, we all did one. But yeah, it's hard I'm sending out like, please come get your tiny, because we'll have to throw them out. So.
I would be interested to hear how your event went next meeting, if I can attend the next meeting. Just because I wonder if like if it would correlate with helping a cause, if maybe they want to do a thing that's also helping something that they believe in.
Yeah, no, and I can, and if you're not here, I'll just email you and tell you.
Appreciate that. I'm like, I don't think I'm traveling on that day, but I might. I never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Um, S Black at, like, what's your email? Just so I can write it down.
Oh, it's marketing at glael.org.
Marketing at GLAD. Okay.
EL.
GLAD, like glad.
Glad all.
Oh, L, right. Gladl.org. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you're not here, I'll let you know. Or I might let you know beforehand.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Two
sure.
two
Sure.
things. Please don't throw away art supplies. That's the first thing. You can always hand them out later, or even make them put them with gift bags for other stuff. But the other thing, I'm sure you all have done this, but um, we make a big deal. We actually take up two showcases of displaying our tiny art. So
Mhm.
they get the whole month of September. And I really like the idea of art for a cause, Kelly. That's really good. If they could do it in a structured way where they're whatever the cause might be, or if I don't know how you would generate, like, are you selling the art, or are you donating it to someone to decorate? That How did you see that being coordinated?
I was gonna say, I don't know. I know Stephanie, or I think it was Stephanie
Oh,
mentioned they're doing,
Stephanie, yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that they're doing the blankets for the, Karen for the cat cafe. Sorry.
Well, we're basically that is a teen event, and that we're like providing the fleece um and cutting, like, well, and I can discuss details too about how much preparatory work to do for it, because you always have less time than you think you're going to. But that is basically, we're providing the materials, and then the blankets are being donated to the pet shelter, um, or to rescues. I'm not sure exactly. But then that, well, for instance, the tiny art, we have it, it's all over the library. And we're trying to reclaim like our fiction shelf and things like that, the top of it. Um, but yeah, the art for a cause, that's something that I just wrote down that phrase because I'm going to mention that to Jillian, our teen librarian, um, and maybe brainstorm on that. I like that, art for a cause, and you could do it once a month. I mean, you know, things can get expensive. I mean, you have a budget, so like the fleece, um, was affordable to do. Um, but that's definitely a great kind of way to look at it. And I've jotted that down.
I was gonna say, I think when you can tie things into something bigger, it
Yeah.
always does help. And then you have partners usually, like I'm sure hopefully the cat cafe is advertising that as well for you.
Yeah, yeah, I hope they are. Because I'm not involved with it, but we've shared on social media and all that, and try to put signs up in the teen section. I mean, obviously, it's hard with signs though, because of we don't always have teens coming in. You have to try to reach them. We kind of have that opposite to Andy,
Yeah.
um, problem or situation. So we're always trying. Teens are just I don't know, need a Rosetta Stone for the teens.
They're elusive, but you can find them sometimes.
Yes.
Well, and you want them. I mean,
Yes,
but
you
I think
do.
you
And
want,
that's part of the,
you try not,
sorry.
like, you don't want to be too obvious, you don't want to, I mean, like the way I think about things are not the way teens think about things. And we just have to remember that, my kids are not teens anymore. They're in their late 20s. My son just turned 30. But they're all, like I'll ask them like about their age group. Okay, so like what is this? What is that? Like, do you think this would, appeal? No, we don't because blah blah blah. You know, so checking with people that age that you may know that you feel comfortable checking with might be another idea. Um, that you can say, hey, like, look, I'm trying to do the right thing here, but I don't want to be too obvious. I don't want to be, whatever the word is of the day, lame or whatever. Because that's something I run into with the social media, especially in the things that I do. It's like, look, I'm not trying to be you, but I want to understand you. And I think that's kind of one of the main things that, I understand adults because I am one, and I don't even understand all of them. But with teens, it's a whole different thing. And if you can find people that that are, they may be able to give you some insights.
I just put in the chat two images that I had quickly accessible for what we did for Tiny Art Show. If anybody needed a concept image of what that is. So basically it was just a little tiny 4x4 canvas, and we already have little tiny easels from another thing. We had 3 different age groups, so they just we provided the canvas, the paint pots, and 2 little teeny tiny brushes, and they had to use that on the surface, and they could do mixed media on it if they wanted. And then for the summer, we also did a tiny art show sculpting contest where the topic was colorful cats. So they had to sculpt a cat from a little tiny ball of clay that we provided. And then that also came as a paint too. That was a little bit more of a challenge and annoying. I would not necessarily recommend it because we had air dry clay, and the clay had really good reviews. But the younger individuals that participated probably were a bit too excited to start painting, and they didn't want to let it air dry first. So like halfway through the show, everything was just kind of like crumbling apart. It was a little better for the adults who could express a little bit of patience, but yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do the clay part again. But it was very fun seeing all the different ones.
Because you have a cat mascot, don't you?
We do. We have one of those like sculptures of Webster.
Yeah. So that's kind of a good tie-in.
Yeah.
I can't find the chat. And I know it's
If you go down to the bottom under should be right, you have the audio, video, participants, and chat.
no. Yep. Thank you.
And then earlier, I also posted what our current internet workstation use is for our patrons, which may get changed at the end of the month. So.
Oh yeah, the tiny art. That one that we did. Yes, the little easels. Oh my gosh, the cats.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have anything else for the group? Because we're near an 11, and I want to respect everybody's time.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you to everybody for helping. And second of all, like, what does this have to do with public relations, marketing? I found that nothing hurts marketing more or the reputation of your library than if there's a perception that the teens are running the library. I've noticed that in our area libraries, people will point out, patrons will point out that they do appreciate us, making the effort, because not all libraries are able to, well, some libraries have to close between 3 and 5 for one thing, but I think it is a key thing. I'm noticing more and more that's how a lot of libraries, at least one of the factors that the public perception is based on how they deal with the teens and the children.
And it's about reaching all ages of the library. Some days we focus on the adults, some days we focus on the kids. Today we focused on the teens. So
yeah.
All right. Anybody want to say anything, last things before we checkout for the month.
Just thanks a lot, everyone, for the good ideas.
Thank you.
All right. So our next meeting, I'll send it out to everybody, but it's going to be October 21st.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.